Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. It's time to have a look at the changelogs that have come out over the last few days. Whenever an update comes out, we obviously have a few bug fixes here and there, and to be honest, I've seen a lot of calls saying that this update has been rushed, and I honestly don't see too many issues with it. The main things that I see, which I think are pretty decent talking points, of course the stuff we talked about yesterday with the BR compression now that we have a new stage in the game of, superiority aircraft, there wasn't a bump up in BR, and also the same in ground with rank 8 coming in and also new vehicles. There wasn't a bump up there either. And then also, there are some questions about some of the flight models on some of the planes, since they can do some pretty crazy stuff, especially with the Su-27 being able to just straight up dump all of its speed within about a second. But apart from that, the game seems to be running well, no graphical issues, no bugs like that, and I think that's pretty decent. And a lot of people have asked me, why do I think they brought out the update when they did? And it honestly is, in my opinion, because Christmas is on a bit of a dodgy day. So Christmas this year is on a Monday, which basically means if you release the updates this week, the week of the 18th to the 24th, then that doesn't really leave a lot of time to set up, the winter sales or Christmas sales or anything like that, because you will only have like 3 or 4 days to do it. And also the winter events coming out this week as well, so it would have just piled everything on top of everything, which would have just been nuts. So I think instead they decided to release it the week before, which was probably planned, mainly because you're stuck in an awkward scenario where you have, 2 weekends in the way to be able to get everything sorted. Anyway, let's get into the changelogs, let's see what's been moved around, and have a decent time. The first update was update 2.33.0.19, and the first thing that they fixed was a bug that caused ammunition on some ground vehicles to instantly replenish at capture points. So this was a bug that they brought in with the new update, and it could definitely be abused by a lot of kind of auto-loading vehicles. So the SDRF 9040, stuff like that, basically you could just plonk it on a cap and then just continuously fire, since it would just fill up the ammo rack quicker than you were firing it. So yeah, a bit of a problem there. Not a huge one though, if you think about it in the grand scheme of things. If you're kind of stuck on a cap point, unless you're like an AA or something with that multi-role capability, like a 2S38, a Puma, Bradley, something like that, it's not actually going to be that useful, because a lot of War Thunder is about mobility nowadays and getting to the power positions, and the vast majority of power positions aren't on the capture points. There was also a bug that caused the counting of APF-SDS shells in tasks has been fixed. This bug caused these shells to be counted as shells with a caliber of less than 35 millimeters, which affected the completion of achievements in the game. Yeah, that's quite a big one actually, because there is a Battle Pass challenge. I don't know if it's still going right now, but one of them was to actually get specific caliber kills in ground forces. It's always the kind of annoying one to do, because you need like under 35 to 60, 65 or 60 to 90, and then over 120. There's always one of those areas which is a bit more annoying than many others. Nowadays I do have pretty much a vehicle for each one, but also at the same time you want to play the new stuff, and a lot of the new stuff now has just very large caliber guns. Even if you have a look at the last update with stuff like the M109 and the PLZs, they're all massive guns. So getting enough time with decent calibers can be a bit annoying. So it is, something to actually think about, but not a huge deal, especially if you're not hugely into the Battle Pass stuff. For aircraft, the F-15A and also J, the angular speed of a steady turn has been adjusted. At medium speeds, it was reduced by 1 to 2 degrees per second, and at speeds of Mach 0.7 to 1, it was increased by 1 to 2 degrees per second. So basically, at lower speeds, you are more maneuverable, and at medium speeds, you are not as maneuverable. I'm guessing medium speeds would be Mach 1 to, whatever speed it is. So kind of interesting to see that, obviously trying to fix the flight models and get them all sorted. I feel honestly in the new year, especially like at the end of January, when they do like some BR changes, stuff like that is going to just move all over the place. I've been hearing a lot of opinions about the high tier of aviation. Obviously now you still have the same kind of missiles that were there before, apart from the AM-3. But the major thing that's kind of interesting is just seeing who's the top dog. Usually it takes a little bit of time to work that out, but, it's always nice to see people's opinions flying around and their thoughts on all of the matters. Excessive illumination of cockpits from the flashes of shots in some aircraft has been fixed, so that's kind of nice. And the Ka-52, the visual absence of a co-pilot from the gunner's position has been fixed. They also fixed all of the optics for the helicopters, which, to be honest, it would be interesting to see, to kind of sit down and talk to somebody about what they were going to do with the helicopter optics, just from kind of a realism and also a balance point of view, and also why they decided to revert it at the same time, because it was definitely something that was interesting. I wonder if what they're going to do in the future is they're going to set it up so there's two different sights for helicopters, where you have kind of the standard optical sight and then you have the electro-optical sight. Kind of like how even on some planes you have the standard cockpit view and then you even have a binocular in it, so you have kind of enhanced zoom as you go in. Because otherwise, why would you make that change? Why would you decide that it makes the most sense to reduce all of these sites without really doing anything with it? We'll have to see. They are definitely adding more and more sites as they go along. Think about how they just added the ATGM site now, which is a nice little change. It's one that I'm sure not many people are going to use, but at the same time, it gives you additional variety in the game, and also means that more positions will work, which is kind of cool. In Naval, there was a bug that caused ship decorations at high angles to flip to a vertical position, making them unable to be used, and that has been fixed. So basically they were upside down. The naval decorations in the game are easily some of the best, and always worth grinding out when it comes to all of these standard events. And I just have some fantastic ones. I got a Helter Skelter, which is wonderful. The deer. There's even, snowman. A lot of animated effects on them, which is really cool. It's nice to see more conversations around Naval, if I'm honest with you. I've had a lot more conversations this year about the game mode compared to others, and I honestly think it's because people are enjoying it more. It's nice to see, and I know there's always talks about changing the game mode, modifying it, and moving it around, but as I said in the tech talk yesterday, for me, I actually kind of enjoy the naval game mode. I don't need it to be, ultra realistic. I don't need it to be ultra big or these massive swaying things. I just need a quick time where I just end up banging and firing guns and trying to angle properly, and I'm happy with that, And I think there seems to be definitely a decent amount of people who are in the same boat. In update 2.33.0.25, they changed a bunch of armor values for some Chinese vehicles. The VT-4A1, the MBT-2000, ZTZ-96A, the P, the ZTZ-99-2, 3, and A, and also the WZ-1001, the FY2 and 4 ERA resistance has been revised, meaning that it will have different capabilities, whether it be positive or negative. Usually for me, when it comes to the FY areas, they kind of have the same issue that the Soviet guys do, where they're on the parts of the vehicle I usually don't shoot anyway. So it's kind of redundant, at least if you're aiming correctly, or the ping of the game doesn't screw you, which is one of the things I've been running into a decent amount recently. One of the reasons why it's actually been quite nice just playing the crazy HE launches and just chucking a bunch of HE everywhere. Also, the MBT-2000 durability of the composite armor has been revised as well, so if you enjoy playing the high tiers of China, it may be worth checking that stuff out. China does have a lot of very fun MBTs, Some of them have the issue that the Soviets have, where a reverse gear is just non-existent, but a lot of them are pretty nice. One of the only issues with them, I would say, is their reload. It's still stuck at 7.1 seconds. There's no vehicle which has a better one for some reason, and it kind of just sucks. The M3A3 Bradley, the missing anti-fragmentation lining has been added, which is going to give it more survivability. I feel like whenever that mechanic gets brought up, the whole lining stuff, there is definitely mixed opinions on it. I've said it, a few times now. I really don't like the idea of spoil liners. I know, people want realism. I know people want to push forward, and they always want to add more kind of realistic values to the highest echelon of the game. But at the end of the day, if it means that it's going to kind of screw with the balance once again of the game, basically through arbitrary reasons, I'm really not a huge fan of it. It's kind of what we've talked about with the armor value stuff and everything. A lot of people think, when it comes to the armor stuff, I'm just a grumpy dude when it comes to it and sick of hearing about it. But it's more about the fact that I would rather armor, if we're going to go down this route where we can't have the true statistics of the armor, which of course we can't, I would rather go down the route of actual gameplay balance. So just like the reloads with manual reloaders, I've seen a ton of people who are like, well, why doesn't my Leopard reload at this rate? This is supposed to be the maximum reload and yada yada yada, in real life. But the fact is they use reload as a balance mechanic, they use ammunition as a balance mechanic, even sometimes transmissions and mobility as a balance mechanic. Why not armor? Why not just use that too to make it a little bit better, instead of trying to live in this world of kind of fantasy armor and trying to get it right or wrong, depending on what's going on. So, yeah, pretty much that's how I feel about it. It's just one of those things. I just find it odd that that's the one that's massively focused on, especially since it's the one which has the most kind of variety to it. Added also the visual display of anti-fragmentation lining to the animation of the hit camera in battle, so you can know if you've destroyed it or not from a vehicle. Once again, an RNG mechanic where you don't know if a vehicle has access to it or not, and also which just completely annihilates your spoil, meaning that they can shoot you back and you don't have one. It's not very fun. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully, with a lot of these changes coming in, since that is one of the major changes, hopefully when the BR changes come in at some point, that stuff will kind of be shown to be pretty powerful. The Mirage 4000 got some new camouflages, so you get to look at them and have a bit of fun with them. And also the display time of the supersonic transition effect has been reduced once again. So yeah, it looks like people don't like their screens just turning white. I didn't mind it, to be honest. I thought it was kind of an interesting gameplay arc where you had to kind of balance it compared to when you were using it. But yeah, I get why people get annoyed about it. Also, the USS Roanoke, the damage model has been updated. So don't know if it was bugged or what the issue was, but it just says that they were sorted. It also says here the option show decals on other player vehicles has been added to the customization of vehicles section. The option is disabled by default. In the near future, this option will be improved so that it's automatically enabled for players who actively use decals themselves so that they can see the decals for other players. For high-level players who do not actively use decals, a pop-up window will show once asking to enable the option when entering the game. So once again, just like the camouflage stuff, they're giving you more opportunities to kind of tailor the game to what you like, which is nice. I wonder if they'll do that with decorations, now that you can kind of physically remove them. Are they ever going to make it so you can just disable other players' decorations instead of just the decals? That's a food for thought going into the next year. But two solid changelogs, fixing a few of the issues from the most recent update, and also changing more armor values around to see how that affects high-tier vehicles. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Brendan Quinn, Vilneus, Character Fuel, Juan the Panda, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Merciless Reaper, Orange Tail, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Moxie, B. Young, Bareen, Peter Grayling, Alan Hacker, Sem Alslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R, and also Lafouche for supporting the channel.